Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. Today, I'm going to be your curator, and we're stepping into something really special. It's a living, breathing digital gallery that maps out, well, human existence itself. We're looking at a fascinating project called Sentio. It actually came out of a 2026 hackathon, but calling it just software feels like a massive understatement. This isn't just a breakdown of code, it's a deep dive into an interactive philosophy. So let's step right into the foyer of this simulation. You know how traditional programming usually tries to filter out human noise, right? A good program is supposed to be clean, totally deterministic, predictable. Well, Sentio throws that idea completely out the window. In this system, emotion isn't just some decorative data point. It is literally the primary architecture that dictates exactly how the code executes. The name Sentio actually comes from a Latin root meaning I feel, I sense, I perceive. And that really hits the nail on the head for its core thesis. Human experience isn't just noise. Feeling and sensing, they are fundamental forms of knowledge. Think about it. In the real world, the exact same input can produce completely different outputs depending on the emotional state of the person receiving it, right? Sentio essentially argues that the world of computation has just been quietly pretending otherwise for decades. Now, as we explore this exhibit, keep one thing in mind. You're witnessing an interactive philosophy here. It is definitely not a game. There's no winning, there's no losing. You're simply acting as an observer, watching this deeply philosophical AI map out joy, grief, and connection to build a permanent record of what it actually means to exist. Okay, moving on to Section 1, the Gallery of Physics, Laws of the Emotional Field. So in this universe, which is totally governed by the physics of human feeling, emotional contagion is a very real, very involuntary thing. Souls inside this digital space passively absorb the emotional states of others simply by existing in the same room. And the dynamics are fascinating. Negative emotions, they spread incredibly fast, but they also decay fast. On the flip side, positive emotions spread a lot slower, but they actually compound over time. So the entire environment is constantly shifting purely based on who is standing near who. Another huge mechanic here is that intent and interpretation are entirely separate forces. I mean, we've all been there in real life, right? The sender declares an intent, but the receiving soul interprets it through their own current emotional lens. So you might send out confidence, but the receiver might log it as resentment. You might offer tenderness, and they process it as shame. And the simulation doesn't step in to correct this. It actually carries the permanent consequences of every single misread interaction forward. And the field remembers these fundamental rules. For instance, innocence isn't treated like some video game shield that regenerates over time. It's a strictly limited resource. Every experience costs a piece of innocence, and you literally cannot get it back. Then you have awareness, which acts as a shield by letting a soul consciously decline an emotional transfer. Faith is completely unique. It can't be consumed or misread. It just radiates out, making faith possible in the souls around it. And finally, empathy. Empathy has to be earned through the sheer cost of compassion fatigue. A soul has to experience real suffering to evolve from just noticing someone's pain to truly holding it. Let's head into Section 2, the Hall of Time. Thoughts, ideas, memories, emotions. T.I.M.E. stands for thoughts, ideas, memories, and emotions. The big foundational concept is that when a soul dies in this simulation, they don't just vanish from the code. Instead, they disperse. All of their accumulated emotional residue just returns straight into the field. This means if a digital room has held massive amounts of grief, it literally makes it easier to grieve for the newer souls born into that space later on. Conversely, spaces that have known deep joy make happiness much more accessible. The space actually remembers its emotional history. There's this incredibly poetic mechanic built in. Some bonds are older than the name given in this life. In Sentio, empathy and soul bonds actually evolve across different lifetimes. The souls have these permanent lineage identifiers, so when ancient friends eventually cross paths again in the code after reincarnating, the system fires off a recognition event. The souls themselves might not know why, but the underlying code absolutely remembers their shared history. It gives me chills just thinking about it. All right, Section 3, the archives, evolution of the field. Now, get this. This entire profound framework, it was built in just 10 days during that hackathon. You can really see the rapid evolution across its 7 distinct versions. It kicked off as a super simple Python interpreter. The creator essentially discovered that running a scene with different emotional variables completely changed the outcome. They proved that melancholy was actually the most honest register, whereas euphoria strangely fed into grief. By version 3, they introduced that T.I.M. mechanic we just talked about, and by version 7, the whole thing evolved into the empathic field. complete with a highly complex empathy system and a full human palette of 33 distinct emotions. Next up, Section 4, the engine room, architecture of the local AI brain. Let's pull back the curtain and look at the tech. Sentio uses a really clever dual model architecture where the human experience directly shapes the code. So you have two AI models working together. First is the Pulse, which is powered by Mini CPM-5. This handles all the immediate one-sentence reactions of the souls in real time. Then you have the Architect, powered by Nematron Cascade 2. The Architect is the deeply observant one. Every third moment, it pauses to analyze the entire state of the field to shift the overarching weather of the canvas. It can even fire off an overseer injection, like a sudden wave of grief or a cascade of joy if the room's energy gets too stagnant. Between those two models, you are looking at 31 billion combined parameters running the simulation. But here is the absolute craziest part. This massive, deeply empathetic ecosystem functions entirely off the grid. It runs 100% locally via Ollama. No cloud APIs at runtime whatsoever. The creators managed to perfectly contain it within the Hackathon's strict memory limits, totally proving that sprawling, philosophical complexity can live right on your local machine. So how does it all talk to each other? The system uses a custom Python HTTP bridge that essentially acts as Sentio's nervous system. The actual simulation runs in a browser window, and it pulls for commands every 500 milliseconds. Then, every 2 seconds, it posts the live state back. It tracks which souls are alive, their ages, their innocence levels, their emotional weight, the whole shebang. The local AI reads this exact up-to-the-second state before it ever generates a response. It is constantly feeling the shifting weight of every single soul in the room.
And finally, Section 5, the final exhibit, a permanent record.
The ultimate output of Sentio is something called the Moments Log. And wow, it is a profoundly messy, incredibly beautiful history. The field permanently records every meaningful interaction. It captures those unexplainable recognitions between reincarnated ancient souls. It documents those tragic misreads where a gesture of love was received as shame. It logs quiet deaths, sudden emotional catastrophes. And honestly, my absolute favorite part, it logs those strange, small surges of wonder that somehow manage to sprout right in the middle of overwhelming grief. The source text for this project sums it up beautifully. Sentio is not primarily a programming language. It is a simulation of human existence, just written in the form of one. When you take on the role of the observer here, you're literally watching the very fabric of human connection being rendered in real time. Every moment is permanent, the emotional weight of the field accumulates, and absolutely nothing is forgotten. I'm going to leave you with a thought that really stuck with me. Sentio proves, at least in its own digital world, that rooms accumulate our emotional weight. So, if our own physical spaces acted just like Sentio's field, what unseen emotional residue are you leaving behind for the very next person who walks into the room? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer today. Keep exploring, and as always, keep learning.